Okay, so shall we begin the presentation? Great. Well, first of all, it's a CORFAC leadership training session. It's intended for anyone, and in particular for those who are on committees. And I have the great pleasure of welcoming you, and in fact, welcoming you that you are actually offering your time and your experience, your knowledge and your skills to be a committee member and to participate on CORFAC. Because I truly believe that what you put in CORFAC is what you get out of CORFAC, and the fact that you've offered your time to sit on these committees, it's great that you will give your expertise, and hopefully, like any organization, the organization is there to serve its members. So we hope to hear from you. Feedback is always welcome. The purpose of this meeting is to give you indeed background on how CORFAC works, the internal workings of CORFAC. The idea is that it should enable you to better understand CORFAC and indeed contribute then to what CORFAC does. If you know the role of your committee, then you know your role, and also therefore you will have by this an overview of all of the committees and all the operations and organization within CORFAC, which will, we hope, give you some further background to see how things work, and therefore once again to help you with the contributions that we know you will make. I wanted also to share with you a little bit about the budget of CORFAC, because I believe the budget's a good way to get an overview of any organization. The annual budget of CORFAC is about $850,000 US. It's allocated amongst the conferences as one topic. The conferences deal with speakers, getting the facilities, having the events. Another area is the committees. So each of your committees has a budget, and that's something that you should speak about within your committees to determine how you will allocate the funds to best pursue the purposes of the relevant committee. Headquarters is another category, if you like, that the budget is allocated to. And as we go through this session, this Zoom session, you'll learn more about what the CORFAC headquarters staff does. There's also IT. There's a lot of IT that goes behind CORFAC. There will be a new association management system put in place. And lastly, the budget is allocated to promotion and marketing of CORFAC International. That's brand management. That's attending conferences like ICSC in Las Vegas, like Expo Real in Munich, and others as well. So the idea is to spread the word of CORFAC. One main topic is that within ourselves, we know what CORFAC does, or we will certainly by the end of the session. One of the things about branding is we want our clients and our future and potential clients to know what CORFAC is, so that becomes a brand name that helps you in your own businesses as you present yourself and yourself as an affiliate of CORFAC. Lastly, I'd like to share with you, just by way of introduction, that one of the things that we've talked about before is that we should treat CORFAC as a client. What that means is allocating some time to other CORFAC affiliates, just as you would allocate time to try to develop a client. So for example, you've got properties for sale, maybe call another CORFAC affiliate to see if they might have a client who could be interested in the property that you have for sale. Or consider a joint marketing pitch with 2 or 3 other firms. I know we've done that, and it's been quite successful, actually. The whole point here is CORFAC isn't just yourself. It's the 900 people who are in CORFAC. It's a large team, and you should use it to your advantage. I have the pleasure for 2025 of being your president, and that means that I'm all ears to hear what you have to say and how we can do better. So I hope by way of welcoming remarks that gives you an idea of the background of CORFAC and why this meeting. And please, the next slide, if we can just carry on, because you should know that there's more people than just myself on the executive committee. There's a president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, past president, and other members as well. The people on the screen, you can see there's 9 people there. All of those people have devoted their time and attention to deal with the issues and the policies that CORFAC comes to CORFAC. And of course, as Jonathan once said quite recently, he said CORFAC is a bottom-up, not a top-down organization. I think that's quite a meaningful thing. By that, he meant that ideas bubble up from the members, and then it goes up to the executive committee, to the board of directors, to headquarters, in order to implement it as policy or as new programs, whatever it might be. So we rely on you to provide ideas, and these various executive committees, and I think the next slide perhaps will show some further information here about CORFAC headquarters staff, but we're all here to serve you. Jonathan as the CEO, Jennifer, her focus is on communications and marketing, and Diane, meetings and membership. Jonathan, Jennifer, and Diane are also on this call. If we can go to the next slide as well. We lastly, by way of
are people seeing slides?
I hope so.
All right. I guess my iPad's broken. Go ahead.
Well, wait a second, Mark.
I see.
Are others?
Yes.
Are other people seeing slides?
I am.
I can see slides.
Yes.
I can see the slides.
Change your view, Mark.
Continue on. I've learned to work quite well in the dark.
We'll get the slides to you and to everyone afterwards. What's currently on the screen right now is the description of CORFAC as seen on CORFAC's LinkedIn page. And I thought, once again, the idea is that we should all have a common baseline of who CORFAC is or what CORFAC is. And CORFAC is a nonprofit association, so it functions based on the dues that affiliates pay. Affiliates or new affiliates, commercial real estate firms are invited to attend. It's based on different geographic markets so that we can cover the world. We're currently in over 20 countries with 75 offices. And the idea is firms are chosen based on their ability to serve their clients, and indeed to serve your clients who might be interested in that other particular market. A few of the things which I'd also like to add, just based on the previous slide, Jennifer, is that the main reasons which I have found that affiliates join CORFAC are obviously to belong to a large organization. Secondly, to get the resources and the education and the information exchange that you can get from others. I think that's quite a huge benefit. As David Pryor once said, he treats CORFAC as his board of directors when he wants to go and get information. And on this point, I would say that it's great to go to conferences, and I think the content of the conferences are great, but I think equally great is when you're at conferences, it's the ability to speak to your colleagues on an informal basis, to see what they're doing, to see what business opportunities might arise, or if you have issues, also just to speak to them. So I think that the informal education at conferences is also as important as the formal education. And lastly, the third element, of course, is business generation. I think with that general overview of CORFAC, I turn it over to you, Jonathan, to lead us further.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Daniel. Before I get started and staff starts sharing stuff with you, I'd like to pick on a couple of people on this call. And I say that because these were folks that have been a part of the network for a long time. They started as committee members, they became committee chairs, they were on executive committee, they became ultimately presidents of the organization. And Joe Latina and Mason Capitani, if you don't mind, can you kind of share your perspective, why you got involved in the organization, and you became president, and why was that important to you? Joe, you want to?
Sure. God, where do I start? Well, I do want to start by absolutely congratulating Daniel. I was still involved with some of the selection when we decided that Daniel would make an excellent president, and I'm just kind of like a proud papa to see it come to fruition. And I'm already excited about the work that you've already started, Daniel, and look forward to a great 2025 as we progress. So great there. I mean, where do I start? I mean, I got involved in the organization probably 20 years ago. When it was, born out of the SIOR, and, retail was a foreign word to them. And, we essentially started to get involved with the retail end of it, and got involved with the ICSC part of it. And then I found myself, getting involved with affiliation. And, when we went around and visited, the different firms that many of you I visited, back in the day, Scott's taken the reins with that and done a phenomenal job since since, I've moved into the leadership and then out, and, I just love talking about CORFAC. Uh, People are, always are looking for the ROI in CORFAC, I'm paying these dues. What's my bottom line here? And, a lot of you guys are seeing, the benefits of, phenomenal referrals, and you're seeing, great monetary gains by being, partners within this organization. I'm from a very tertiary market here in Wilmington, Delaware, and, sure, we get our referrals here and there, but, they're not as frequent as you would think. But I think, that my, I feel I use CORFAC in other ways, and I use it in the knowledge of my colleagues when I need information, or if I need, market knowledge or just business knowledge. I reach out to my colleagues, when I do presentations, oftentimes, depending upon the client, sometimes I put CORFAC ahead of, my organization, to show, that our national and international reach and how beneficial it is to them. And it literally gets me a seat at the table with all the big boys too, because we have this national affiliation. So, I really do have a strong passion for the organization. Many of you are aware that, I had a little brief remove or left CORFAC for a brief period of time. My former firm was a long member of the organization, and I made a very difficult decision back in 2022 to move on and create what we have today, which is LMT Commercial. And I was out of the network for about a year and a half, but as Jonathan can probably attest to, I basically said, I obviously didn't wish Patterson Woods any ill will, of course not. And, to this day, we're still very, very good friends. But, I said, hey, if there's ever an opportunity again, you know who to call. And, sure enough, I got that call, a year or two ago, and I was ecstatic to get it. And it wasn't even a question. I just said, send the paperwork, let's go. And I'm right back. And, I'm really proud of what we've all built through the years here in this organization, and we continue to grow. The young leadership that's coming in is amazing. As much as, they can learn from me, I can learn from them. And, I'm just excited about the future and for our organization moving forward.
Thank you, Joe.
Pleasure.
Mason.
Yeah, it's always good going second. Because I'll probably echo
What he
Joe
said.
Yeah, what he said, right?
No. So our firm has been in CORFAC for, I think, 15 plus years now. And we have a unique perspective because we belong to other networks before CORFAC. We belonged to TCN for a period of time, belonged to GVA for a period of time. And I think I speak for Jason and certainly myself when I say that, CORFAC is beyond a doubt the best network. Personally, I agreed to serve on committees and in different officer positions because I believe in the network. I believe in the organization. I think it's a wonderful organization. I think there's so much there to benefit from beyond just referrals. And I always say this, like Joe said, you can't really determine the value of CORFAC based upon how many deals you do. There's best practices, there's market knowledge. I always come away from a call or a meeting where I learn something and I try to apply that to my own business. And to me, that's invaluable. Beyond the fact that CORFAC has become such a preeminent network and it's so well known, there's a certain gravitas to having our company affiliated. We promote CORFAC on all of our marketing. It says El Mason Capitani CORFAC International on our building. So it's very important to us. And as a result, I felt it was important to get involved. And by getting involved, there was a personal benefit there too, because I got to meet so many people on a different level. You develop relationships with people. You see from the inside out how the organization works, and you're able to put your own stamp on it and hope that you're doing something in your own way to improve the organization for the benefit of everybody. And I speak for Jason too, our approach has always been we're going to be involved, we're going to be involved. And we hope that, you know, our involvement has benefited the organization, and we're certainly committed to staying involved as long as we're wanted.
Thank you, Mason. Appreciate that, guys. And Mason, you put it perfectly. I mean, like anything, you get out of it what you put into it. And I think, you know, Joe and Mason and many others on this are perfect examples of that. So I'm not going to sit here and read this next slide to you, but I think the top part's important, and that shows you the committees that are within CORFAC. And Daniel put it perfectly before, everything starts at the bottom with the committees. And if you look at anything that we've done over the last several years, whether it's the development of an app, whether it's the development of an investment sales platform, whether it's the creation of a new strategic plan, what have you, those have all bubbled up from committees and ultimately went to the executive committee and went to the board of directors for final approval. So I'm proud to say we've got 900 members within our 75 offices right now. I would say about 700 of those are practitioners or brokers. Joe mentioned it earlier, the roots are in SIOR, but we've got a lot of designated people. I would say probably a quarter, at least a quarter of our membership has some sort of real estate designation. We're growing, which is exciting, not just domestically, but internationally. And last year was our 35th anniversary, and time to move on. And this is just a map of where we're at, showing you the expansion, where we're going. And we will talk about this in a minute. But, you know, as you think about CORFAC, and some of it happens organically and some of it happens differently, you know, look at the markets we don't have offices and think about your connections that you might have through SIOR, through CCIM, through ICSC, where there might be a potential person you know in a market that might be a good fit for CORFAC. You've all seen a lot of this stuff. This is, you know, this is part of our marketing and communications and branding. And, you know, we ask everybody, every firm, every year or two about their transaction volume. And this, by them doing that, this provides us the big picture information that we can share with the commercial real estate world. I mentioned earlier when Chaim was president a couple of years ago, his hot button was the strategic plan. And we hadn't redone the strategic plan in a long time. And now we have a document. This is the part of it, which shows you the vision, mission, and value. And which I think if you're going to serve on a committee, it's important to kind of understand this and be able to say it. It's what drives decisions within the organization. You know, when we're looking at doing something new, we always say, well, how does that tie into the strategic plan? So this was a lot of fun putting together. It was a lot of work, but it was all good. So we put this, or Jennifer put this slide together, and I think it really depicts what CORFAC is as far as structurally. And you can see the board and the executive committee are on top, but that does not diminish the role of the committees. And I like to say that this kind of shows you how a bill becomes a law, so to speak. So at the bottom, you've got all the committees. They get together a couple times at the conferences. They also get together on Zoom calls as needed. And Daniel said it a minute ago, everything bubbles up. And an idea goes from the committees, goes to the executive committee, and then ultimately to the board of directors. And speaking of the board of directors, this is just a shot, you know, a picture we took at a recent board meeting. But at the end of the day, the board is responsible for the business affairs of CORFAC. And every regular domestic affiliate has a seat on the board. And that's something I don't think you'll find in a lot of other organizations. So when a firm joins, a full paying firm joins, they have a seat on the board and they have a say in what goes on with decisions within the organization. And also on the board are representatives from Canada, Europe, Latin America, and Asia. And that's very important as well because we are growing tremendously on the international side as well. And the board meets at the spring and the fall conferences and if needed, virtually. So. And then the executive committee, Daniel showed you the picture of the executive committee members earlier. There's 9 members on that committee. It's made up of the executive committee, the officers, the past president, and 4 at-large members. And the executive committee really acts as the board of directors between the board meetings. So they're empowered to carry on any decisions, whether they're day-to-day decisions, whether something comes up, that needs addressing immediately. But anything that happens at the committee level or the executive committee level ultimately goes to the board of directors. So we're just going to take a minute and talk about the individual committees. And here, the first one, I'm liaison to the Affiliation Development Committee. And I got to say, this is, having been able to work with Joe and Scott Hensley and this year with Cole and others, this is one of the most gratifying things I do as a staff member. And, Diane calls it the sexy stuff, but being able to go out and recruit new firms and walk into a room and say, yeah, these guys are going to be a great fit for this organization. It's a lot of fun. And it's what it's all about. But every bit as important is the retention of firms. And yeah, we do lose firms. We'll lose a firm or two every year, but the net is always a bigger gain. So yeah, it's what's helped grow this organization, and I thank the people involved for being a part of that. Jennifer, if you want to.
Sure. Hi, my name's Jennifer Norbit, and I know most of you, but it's nice to meet those that I don't. So I'm the liaison to the Communications and Technology Committee, which is charged with all facets of increasing CORFAC's brand awareness and everything that entails. And also part of this committee is looking into and providing new technology or exposure to new technology for our members. And that might be developing relationships with technology companies or, tools and platforms that are out there. But this committee oversees those initiatives for the network.
Hi, I'm Diane Harris, and I'm the liaison to Conference and Professional Development. And this committee is responsible for the curriculum, so to speak, that's presented at the conference. They also suggest topics for webinars and any other programming we have, topics for the next gens or other groups to utilize. They're also responsible for the conference locations and the details for the social activities. And just generally, if we have any questions about what we should be doing at meetings, we bounce it off this committee. We are not practitioners in commercial real estate. So we look to our committee and our members for suggestions about what is the best programming for you to be excellent in your professions. And the Professional Development Committee or the Conference Committee and Professional Development Committee also look to conference surveys, and we look at other resources to utilize. So when you get that conference survey, answer it, because this committee uses that to make some big decisions about what the organization does.
And speaking of surveys, this is the first time we've done this program. So we would love your feedback on how to improve it going forward. So I just make that announcement there while I'm thinking about it. So next is the International Committee. I mentioned a minute ago, international firms are growing. And right now, out of the 75 offices, a third of those are international. As most of you probably know, we will be going to Amsterdam in the fall for our fall conference, which, you know, it's time to show the love, so to speak, to our international partners. We were in London in 2018. Our intent was to go back sooner, and then COVID hit, and that kind of threw plans out the window on that. But very exciting to watch the growth of this. Daniel has done a great job. Ray has done a great job. Charlie Thompson in the past has done a great job in growing this. And when I started 10 years ago, I would say there was not a heck of a lot of interaction between our international firms. And now we do at least quarterly calls with our international firms. We have a summer affiliate meeting with our international firms where they get together for a day, day and a half, and talk business and hear presentations. We have a large presence as an organization at Expo Real, which is arguably the biggest European commercial real estate show. You know, we're branding, not only are we branding domestically, but we're branding quite a bit internationally.
I'll jump in from there. The Next Generation Committee CORFAC is very committed as a network to providing resources and developing next generation professionals who are in the industry. And part of that includes conference programming, webinars, committee meetings, and scholarships, which are available to Next Gen members to attend our events twice a year. So it's a great committee. There's a lot of energy, and we really value and embrace the Next Gen in this network.
Before we cover these last three, does anybody have any questions, comments at this point? Anything? Okay, if not, I'll keep moving on. So these next couple of committees, David Boyd, as past president, will get the honor of overseeing the nominating committee and the past president's committee. And the nominating committee really is the group that identifies future leadership to serve on the executive committee to ultimately become president of the organization. So it's a big role, and it's a big job, and it's exciting to see the growth of potential candidates. And at times it's a tough decision to say, well, this person could do a really good job, but we think this person is just a little further ahead. But yeah, that committee makes the decisions and recommendations to the executive committee and the board about who will serve in the leadership positions. And the past presidents, it's made up right now of about 10 to 12 past presidents that are still part of the network. And it's a lot of institutional knowledge. And they will sit around and make recommendations, particularly for the principals caucus that we do at every conference. And you'll see that a lot of those are just sometimes they're just open to principals, sometimes they're not. But you know, everything from what are CORFAC firms doing is related to training their people, succession planning have been some recent topics. So a lot of good information comes out of the past president's committee. And then Jennifer, you want to do the next one, and I can chime in as needed?
Sure. So another function and benefit of the network is a transaction and business development activity. And this committee drives the activities related to business development. And a couple of key areas are at conferences. They host deal making sessions. They offer programming through webinars to connect members within segments of the industry. And they are looking at ways to economize some of the data collection that we do around member transactions. So it's a very important committee, and they are we're always active and very engaged at the conferences in particular. Is there anything else, Jonathan, that you want to weigh in on?
No,
Okay,
thank you.
thanks.
So I was assigned this slide. I'm kidding. So this slide just really talks about committee members and what we need committee members to do when they participate in a committee. And I mean, I'm not going to read it to you guys, but I think people don't realize, for example, the conference committee and professional development committee that I'm in charge of, a quorum on a committee that we abide by is whoever is present. So if a quorum is 3 people, then the committee has 3 people that are making a decision about where future conferences are and what we're going to do. So it's really important that folks, understand their role on the committee, understand how their decision is affecting things, and that they are educated about what they're doing because it affects the entire membership. And I'm trying to think of some examples of things. So for example, when we select a location, as I mentioned before, we will look at surveys, we will look at past surveys, we will look at the viability that the location will have an affordable room rate. And then that committee will make a suggestion about a location. And then that location ultimately goes to the board to be approved. So that's kind of how a bill becomes a law. Am I missing anything on here, you guys?
And I would just add that, don't ever feel like you can't mix things up a little bit. A lot of the committees, they get together, they do things the same way. But Jennifer just mentioned with the transactions committee, it kind of always did things the same way, but now we're evaluating the importance of data collection. Because at times collecting deals is not an easy chore. I mean, the committee's trying to decide, do we need all deals? Do we just need CORFAC to CORFAC deals? How about client information? So, the committees evolve because of people like you who participate, who come up with new ideas to make them even better than they are.
And then, once you are assigned to participate in a committee, it's really important that you read the materials that the committee chair and staff provide to you. It's important that you not only show up to calls, but participate in the calls. And really it's not required, because we don't do required at CORFAC. That's the beauty and the curse of us. But it is highly suggested that you attend the spring and fall conferences, because that is where a lot of, I think almost all the committees take place in person. And if they don't, then you at least can, for example, conference of professional development, don't meet at the conference, but you can interact with your peers. And we do have a reporting structure where we have some meetings that the committee chairs are reporting. Again, it bubbles up from the bottom. And so you're valuable at the bottom, but you're reporting through a hierarchy when you come to the conferences about what's happening. And your decisions are not in a silo. You need to know what other committees are doing and understanding how your decisions impact the other committees. So it's really important that you not only accept the committee assignment, but show up, participate, engage, understand your role, read the materials that are provided to you, and respond in a timely manner to any requests that chairs or staff people have for you.
Okay, we're just moving on here, the staff's role. So in short, we wear many hats. I don't know how else to put it, but that's pretty much the best description. But we are professional association executives with and I don't know if that's my eyes deceive me, but 100 years of combined experience leading all facets of commercial real estate
Most of
association.
that's me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 70 of that's
Yeah,
Jonathan.
it is.
The rest is us. But we manage the day-to-day operations of CORFAC, the global network, everything from budgeting to events to member services, website, database, marketing, committees, contract negotiations, all of it. You're seeing all of us right now. There are 2.5 of us. Diane is part-time, so Jonathan and I are full-time. So we are strategically managing operations, but there are 2.5 of us. So it's a lot of juggling. Anything else important to know about us? We pretty much overlap in our expertise as far as our day-to-day responsibilities. So if Jonathan is busy with something, I may pick up in a different area. Any given day, we may be overlapping in our response to you or the services we're providing. And so we leverage our expertise in the industry and our institutional knowledge with the network to make that happen. But, let us know how we can help and assist you because we are here to do just that. So with that, we have just a short, fun activity here that we would like to do. It's called CORFAC Trivia. So I'm going to turn it over to Daniel's team.
Yes, so I hope you can see the shared Slido thing. You can either just scan the QR code or join on slido.com. And you don't have to use your real name. You can also use made up names or initials.
All right.
Go
Great.
Chiefs, really?
I wonder who that is.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Well, I think it looks like we got a good group who've logged in. If you want to take it
Yeah,
away from here, that'd be great.
so you should see all the questions now. So for the first question, who approves the operating budget for CORFAC, Board of Directors, Executive Committee, or staff?
All right. Looks like most people got that one. But yes, the correct answer is Board of Directors is the ultimate approval channel for the budget. However, staff and the committees and the executive committee are in charge of creating and tweaking the budget and pulling all of that information together on an annual basis and doing ongoing review of how the fiscal operations of the network. But the board does approve the budget annually.
All right. Who approves the location of conferences? Board of Directors, staff, or Conference and Professional Development Committee?
So the correct answer is that the Conference and Professional Development Committee use a variety of sources to make suggestions, and they come up with a final answer, but it is a vote put to the Board of Directors ultimately decide and bless the location.
All right, next question. Who identifies potential new firms for the network, board of directors, executive committee, or affiliation development committee?
Wow. Looks like we have a very you all listened very well apparently in the first half of this, because that's correct. The Affiliation Development Committee is responsible for identifying new potential firms. And of course, any member is welcome to recommend a firm as well.
Next up, who negotiates with hotels and party venues for conferences, conference and professional development, staff, or officers?
So the correct answer is staff. That's what pays the bills in the Harris house, is the fact that I take your suggestions and ideas and I negotiate with the hotels and the party venues to secure the best prices that we can get for you guys.
And she's being modest. She beats them down.
And Jonathan and I are going next week to New Orleans to negotiate for the spring 2026, but it is a staff function.
Who can serve on a CORFAC committee? Firm principals, brokers, or agents, any member in the network?
That's correct. Any member of the network is able to serve on a committee. So, and we have members who are brokers or agents. We have marketing directors. We have a wide range of members who serve on committees.
Who can attend CORFAC conferences and webinars? Any broker in the CRE industry, only principals and volunteer leaders, any member of a CORFAC affiliated firm.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yep, that is correct. Any office that pays member dues, any employee of that office can participate in the benefits of CORFAC, including conferences and webinars.
Okay, I got to challenge that answer. And yes, we have invited prospective firms in the past, correct, Jonathan?
I don't know what you're talking about, Scott.
Okay, never mind.
No, you're absolutely right. We and actually I've invited about a half a dozen potential firms to LA. So yes.
And I just bring that up, that it is important that if there is a firm out there that would like to attend, we do open that up. So,
but it is important to note that it is a closed event, so to speak. So it's an event that is curated specifically for members of the network. So we don't invite if there's not a fee or a rate for anybody in the industry to attend. So
yeah. And the most recent example is a firm that's now an official member, the guys from Cleveland who came to Atlanta, who many of you met.
Yeah.
So.
And then how much commission must be paid to CORFAC HQ on a closed transaction? 3%, 10%, or nothing?
Well done.
Well done. Everybody got that one right.
Next up, who is responsible for the daily operations of CORFAC, board of directors, staff, officers?
You guys are paying attention?
Yeah, that's correct.
And then we have, what is CORFAC International's mission? I won't read those.
Well done.
And how many offices does CORFAC have worldwide? 50, 75, or 100?
Almost. It is 75.
What is CORFAC's annual transaction volume? 5 billion, 10 billion, 20 billion.
And that obviously means all offices combined. $10 billion.
That's correct.
And last up, what are the three most cited benefits of CORFAC? You have 45 seconds for this.
So I think we all agree that there's no wrong answer on this one. But I would say the number one choice would be number one.
But nobody picked partying at the conferences.
They did not.
This truly was a trick question because actually all three, as Jonathan said, are right.
Yeah.
All right, that was the last question. So congrats to CLB.
Boo.
Daniel, who got all of them correct. All right, so I'll quickly turn back to the presentation and hand over to CORFAC again.
We're trying to be mindful of your time here. So just really quickly, the next couple conferences, we are in LA in February, and then in the fall, we are in Amsterdam. Registration and housing are open for Los Angeles now. I encourage you to take care of that. You know, the hotel rooms fill quickly. And for the fall, we anticipate housing and registration will open in probably May or June at the very latest. And then, as I mentioned, in 2026 spring, it will be the very end of February, beginning of March. No, we won't be there for Mardi Gras, but we will be in New Orleans. Attendance is highly advised and enjoyable.
Hey, Diane, quick question. For the LA conference on Wednesday, are there any group functions like a bike ride or an excursion or something set up in LA?
At this time, no, we are in discussions with David about hosting golf. But if you look in the frequently asked questions area, if anybody's interested in a golf activity, reach out to me and I can put you in touch with David.
Okay, so just the golf at this point.
If there are enough people interested and the local firm is interested in participating, yes.
Okay, thank you, Diane.
I think we can, yeah, thank you.
That actually, this is our last slide. We'd like to hear from you, any questions or comments that you have, whether it's about this particular Zoom meeting or anything else. And actually, not only today, but as always, the executive committee, the headquarters staff are always available to respond to your questions. And more to the point, we encourage you to let us know your thoughts.
And I would just add, again, thank you guys for doing this. It's what makes the overall network hum, because you're involved. And while it's said that CORFAC staff runs the day-to-day operations, I mean, we can't do that without marching orders from you and the committees and the executive committee and the board. So, you know, we all kind of operate 24/7. So if you have any questions, call us, email us, text us, and we're here.
Yeah, great way to start 2025. Thanks for putting this on, guys. Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you for
Buddy,
being here.
ask clients where else you can help them across the country and across the world. Paul Fogel, I'm going to call you after this call. We've got a deal to talk about.
Thank you for being here. Thank you, Joe Latina, for putting me in this seat.
I didn't do it
And,
personally. I was just part of the. But we're
Right.
looking forward
And
to it.
remember, at CORFAC, you've got 900 brains to pick in 75 offices. The conferences are coming up. Please, I'll make a pitch once again. As an international member, I'll make a pitch once again for Amsterdam in September 14th to 17th. A couple of things to say. It's a tax deductible trip. That's one thing. And secondly, if you're going to Europe, you can include Amsterdam as well as other locations. As Hans-Peter Friss, who's the principal at the Amsterdam affiliate, said, whenever his team goes on holidays, at least in Europe, they should ask themselves, where they're going, is there a CORFAC office? Do they have an affiliate there? And if they do, they should go and phone them up and say, hi, I'd like to come by for a coffee. I'd like to meet you. Well, you're going to be in Europe, so maybe you want to extend your trip and take a look at where the other CORFAC offices are. We all would like to see you.
We'll be there.
Be there.
See you there.
Okay, enjoy your day, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.